All right, guys. Today we are going to be reacting to Keeko accuses Brian of promoting misogyny, but couldn't say how. Wow.
But you do have disagreements with the show/shows. You say just when it teaches men to hate women, and the controversy. Yeah. So those are two separate statements. We'll get into the first one first. When you say the and the controversy, what do you mean?
And the controversy, I just think sometimes this podcast can put women against men, and I don't think that's the answer.
Oh boy.
It's just the way they pronounce it. I do know that there is a plural and singular version.
Why do they do that, Keeko?
It's just the way I pronounce it. I swear to God that I do know what you're saying. I even listen back, and it does sound like I'm saying the opposite of what I'm saying, but I just...
you couldn't say it. You didn't want to say it because Andrew was right.
On the words.
Go ahead.
But I do see valid points on both sides. I do see a lot of times what the men are saying, but I just don't think the answer is to make them hate all women. Same thing when the women get on here and say like, oh, F all men and this and that. Like I think both sides are wrong. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I just don't appreciate the divide it causes between the sexes. But if I'm being honest, I think what Brian does is the least of it. I think the red pill, blue pill, black pill, whatever community in a whole, F and F, whatever, is a bigger issue.
I think they're great.
Yeah, she's afraid. She's afraid. This is a classic bring the conversation to a neutral position and to a status quo by saying everybody, both sides, it's just basically just leaving things into the status quo. All right, it's without saying that we recognize there's a problem. She already knows there's a problem and the female side of the equation, and she's afraid of the red pill because the red pill, remember guys, it's just a change of conscience, guys, where you can see this information that's presented to you and you just start getting the truth. What she's realizing now, that the red pill has a lot of valid points. And she doesn't like that. Why? Because it exposed their true nature. They all know what their nature is, but they still want to hide it. Even though the red pill is already exposed a lot of these nature. Even back in the I would say late 1980s, when Rush, what's Rush's name? The old pickup artist. He was already exposing a lot of these behaviors on TV. She already consumes enough information. That's why this time around she came a little bit to the show.
I don't appreciate the way that they speak to women sometimes. I understand getting your point across.
Podcast, so we're not going to talk about.
You asked me.
No, but you're bringing up another podcast. I'm not them, so.
I was saying how I appreciate that you are a little bit better in how you conduct yourself.
I guess there's a compliment in there.
Yes, thank you. I was not bringing. Trust me, I would.
She was about to bring you know who.
High regards. I was saying
that
when you were talking about what you were saying, how I don't like it, the controversy. I was saying how I do appreciate that you guys go about it a little bit better. Mm-hmm. But I just think that we should all come together and not hate each other. That's it.
Okay.
So, do you think this is probably the most humorous thing about doing as much of this as I have on these types of panels?
Thank you.
Is recognizing that on the one side of women's mouths, they talk about equality, egalitarianism,
there we go.
How much they think that men and women are interchangeable widgets, until you talk to them like a man. And then suddenly, they're a fucking woman. Suddenly, they're fragile. Suddenly, you can't talk to me like that. Suddenly, I'm on a different playing field than you. Suddenly, but wait, you're a man, right? And what I've always really tried to drive home more than anything else is that aspect. Is that there's this sense of privilege which actually does exist with women. And the second that you confront them with logic, or you confront them with reason or facts, or you're even moderately aggressive, just like you would be with a man. You wouldn't be any different if you were talking to a man.
I would.
Suddenly, they instantly take a front, clutch their pearls, they can't believe it, they tone police, the whole 9 yards. And so for me, it's like, we can't have your cake and eat it too, right? It's either you're egalitarian, interchangeable widgets with men,
Champagne,
or you're not.
And I get that point, but Actually,
Oh,
let
boy.
me
He's
let
a
them
dude, too.
go for it.
Okay, Noah.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? She's being very careful on this podcast. She's being very careful. She's watching a lot of videos. You might be watching mine right now. And I'm telling you, this is when things really starts changing. But then you have to realize the question they have to ask themselves: why guys are acting this way? Why? Why made them change? Do they have a valid point? Let's just listen to their concerns. Oh, marriage law, right? Family courts, our school system. It's just focused in a female-centered point of view. Does that help men in the long run? No, of course not. Because that means that we're going to end up with more school James Bond characters. Right? A lot of school target practice. You're getting my drift. We're going to end up with a lot of more depressed guys, men. And we need men. We need men to just continue this monster called society. We have to. Okay? Now, on top of that, they're willing to even sit down with you, have this conversation. They're willing to even grant you certain arguments. And on top of that, some of them, they're even okay with still protect you. However, I haven't heard one argument that tells me, for any feminist, that they are there to protect men's rights as well. I haven't seen one, guys. And you guys know I've been reacting to these videos a lot. I have bunches, hundreds of videos of female nature. I personally think, guys, it was never about equality. It was always about supremacy. Always.
Donated
W's in the chat for
$200.
Noah.
Jokes on Keeko. I've hated women long before this podcast.
And Noah, like, unless you're a gay man, like, that's very
That was yours.
sad. Like,
see
I've
that,
never hated men like that.
Uh-huh.
Like, I really hope that you can get out
You
of that.
you don't hate men so much that you're okay with a guy sleeping with another guy and just still call it straight. Like,
And find the right woman for you.
Oh,
I
come
hope
on, that
you're-
was a joke.
It was.
It is,
He's
but,
joking.
but I hope he finds the right one for him and has a great life and a great family with the woman of
check
his
out
life.
that
Is,
Full moon,
it,
by
is
the
there
way,
even
guys,
a
right
problem with hating the way that
Are
women
you
act in
getting-
modernity? Is
getting
that
up,
even problematic?
It's all about.
Does that mean you hate women, or does that mean that you hate how people act? Like, for instance,
well, here's the thing. I would never
go
say
ahead.
I hate men. I would never go around saying I just hate men.
Yeah, but that's not what I asked. What I asked is not whether or not it's problematic to say I hate women. I asked if it's problematic to say that you hate how modern women act.
there we go.
Yeah, I think it's problematic because I do understand because you're asking me directly.
Yeah.
And I don't go around saying I hate how the modern man acts.
Don't you?
I don't.
Don't you?
If you actually look at all my
Didn't
episodes,
you? Well,
I've never.
didn't you just kind of give this indictment? You said there's this like greater community of like red pill, black pill. What you're talking about is
I hate how the younger generation
But
acts.
you're talking about the manosphere, right? What you're really talking
No,
about
but
is the manosphere.
what I should have clarified, I was going to, but someone started talking. I didn't want to interrupt.
Yeah.
I also hate how the women, me included, I've done the same thing going on here, how we conduct ourselves. And it kind of...
She's taking notes, see? Because what happened is the first time that she came to the show, you remember, guys, she was crazy. Now she went back and read a lot of the comments. She said, oh my God, I was living in a bubble. Let me try the second time. Second time, she still acted crazy too. And now look at her. See? Now what we need to do is close the door. Now that you understand how men work, now go back and try to have this conversation with women, not with men.
It's their fault. We can obviously do whatever we want once we're up here, but it gives the platform for these things to happen. So I'm not saying that it's their fault, but I also hate how women get up on here on these podcasts and make us look. So I'm not saying it's all on the men. It's a whole
What do
thing
I-
how we entertain the
What do I
conversation.
make us look?
Well, we gotta let Brian move it. Hang on.
Does that make sense? though?
Holy shit, libertarian.
Donated
Yo, W's in the chat for
$500.
libertarian.
All right, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I will see you in the next one.